How did Shona people come to the UK? The migration story. Early migration pre-2000. The migration of Shona people to the United Kingdom began gradually in the colonial and post-colonial eras, with small numbers arriving as early as the mid-20th century due to historical ties from the British colonial period in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. However, before 2000, the journey remained slow and limited, involving only modest groups of Shona individuals who primarily came for higher education, pursuing degrees at British universities, or to take up professional roles. These early migrants were often nurses, doctors, teachers, and a handful of businessmen, benefiting from lingering colonial connections that facilitated visas, scholarships, and employment opportunities in a familiar Commonwealth nation. This foundational phase laid the groundwork for stronger community networks, even as the Shona presence in the UK stayed relatively small and elite-driven compared to the larger waves that would follow in the early 2000s amid Zimbabwe's political and economic challenges. The big wave after 2000, crisis and opportunity. After 2000, everything changed for the Shona people moving to the UK. Back in Zimbabwe, a very bad political and economic crisis started. Prices went up every day, hyperinflation, money became almost worthless, jobs disappeared, and life felt unsafe for millions of people. Many Shona families could no longer survive at home, so they had to leave. At the same time, the UK needed workers very badly, especially nurses, carers, doctors, and teachers for the National Health Service, NHS, and care homes. Good jobs were waiting, salaries were paid on time, and the country felt safe and stable. This created a strong push and pull. The crisis pushed Shona people out of Zimbabwe, while the chance of a better life pulled them to Britain. Because of this, thousands of Shona men and women arrived in the 2000s and 2010s, and the community grew quickly. What started as a small group before 2000 soon became one of the largest Zimbabwean groups in the UK. Where do Shona people settle? UK community hubs. Once they arrived in the UK, Shona people did not spread out evenly across the country. They formed strong communities in certain key places. The largest Shona populations are now found in major cities and towns like London, especially the east and south boroughs such as Newham, Lewisham, Southwark and Croydon, Birmingham, Manchester, Luton, Leicester, Coventry, Leeds, and also places like Nottingham, Sheffield and Milton Keynes. Why these particular areas? The reasons are very practical. First, these cities offered plenty of jobs in the sectors where Shona migrants were already qualified: nursing, care work, teaching, driving, security and factory work. Second, housing was and still is much cheaper than in central or west London, so families could rent or buy bigger homes for their money. Third, and most important, these places already had a small but growing Zimbabwean network from the early arrivals. When a new person lands at the airport with 2 suitcases and very little money, the safest and easiest choice is to go straight to where their cousin, aunt, former neighbor, or church friend is already living. That family or friend will give them a bed for the first weeks, help them register with a GP, show them how to open a bank account, and introduce them to employers who are happy to hire fellow Zimbabweans. A special feature of Shona settlement in the UK has been the central role of churches and WhatsApp groups. Pentecostal churches such as Forward in Faith, Zaoga, AFM, Family of God, and many smaller independent ministries became more than just places to worship. They turned into community centers where people shared job vacancies, spare rooms, school advice, and even marriage partners. At the same time, hundreds of local and national WhatsApp groups, often named after the home province like Masvingo, UK, Midlands Family, UK, or Manicaland Nurses, act as the modern-day dare or village square. A newcomer can join the relevant group within hours of arriving. Post, I've just arrived. I need a place to stay in Luton, and within minutes receive phone numbers, addresses, and offers of help from complete strangers who speak the same language, eat the same sadza, and understand the same struggles. Thanks to these strong family, church, and digital networks, Shona people have built vibrant, supportive communities that make life far away from home feel a little more like Zimbabwe. How Shona culture lives on in the UK. Language, family, and food. Even thousands of miles away from the red soils of Zimbabwe, Shona culture remains fiercely alive inside British homes, and it often starts with the sound of Chishona ringing through the living room. In most Shona households, you will still hear parents, grandparents, and aunties speaking the mother tongue every single day. Children are greeted with makadi in the morning and told enda unorara at bedtime. Many parents deliberately speak only Chishona to their little ones, determined to pass on the language of their ancestors. Yet it is a real battle. Schools, playgrounds, television, and friends all push English, so a lot of UK-born Shona kids grow up understanding Shona perfectly, but answering back in broad British accents. This has created a funny and very common mix that people lovingly call Shonglish, sentences that jump happily between the two languages. Mum, tinoda sadza today, not that chip stuff again. Food, however, is the strongest thread that ties every generation straight back to Zimbabwe. Walk into a Shona home on a Saturday or Sunday, and the air will be filled with the smell of sizzling kovo, greens, muriwo, collard greens or kale cooked with tomato and peanut butter, and most importantly, a big pot of sadza being stirred on the stove. Sadza, the thick maize meal porridge that is the heart of every meal, is non-negotiable. It is served with generous helpings of nyama, meat stew, often beef, chicken or goat, roadrunner chicken cooked in a rich gravy, or the tiny dried fish called matemba or kapenta that bring instant childhood memories of Lake Kariba. On special occasions, you might find or even the spicy mazondo cow heels that make British guests raise their eyebrows. These dishes are far more than dinner. They are love letters from home. Parents cook huge pots, not just for the family, but to share with visitors, because in Shona culture, feeding someone is the deepest way to say, you belong here. Freezers are always stocked with imported kapenta, muriwo, and hunger maize meal flown in from South Africa or bought from Zimbabwean shops in Luton, Birmingham, or Leeds. Every bite of sadza nemuriwo eaten around a British kitchen table keeps the spirit of the village alive and reminds even the youngest children that no matter where they were born, a big part of them will always be Shona. Music and celebrations. Music is the beating heart of the Shona community in the UK. It is everywhere and it never stops. On any Sunday afternoon, you can drive through Luton, Leeds, or Birmingham and hear the powerful voices of Shona gospel artists like Mechanic Manyaruke, Charles Charamba, or the newer stars like Minister Michael Mahendra blasting from car windows and open front doors. At house parties, in kitchens while cooking sadza, or through headphones on the night bus, people still listen to the classic Chimurenga rhythms of Thomas Mapfumo that speaks of the liberation struggle. Oliver Mtukudzi's soothing tuku music, or the high-energy jiti and shangara beats that make everyone, young and old, jump up and dance Boroto or Jerusalema the moment the song starts. Every weekend somewhere in the UK there is a Shona event, a kitchen party, a baby shower, a birthday braai, or a full gospel concert in a hired community hall. The air fills with the sound of mbira, thumb piano, ngoma drums, hosho shakers, and hundreds of voices singing in perfect harmony. People dress in their finest traditional prints or smart suits, and the dancing goes on until the hall manager switches the lights on at midnight. Traditional ceremonies are still performed with pride, even under grey British skies. Shona weddings, makaro, keep the rura, bride price, negotiations, the exchanging of gifts, and the all-night singing and dancing, though the ceremony might move from an open yard in Harare to a rainy community centre in Coventry. Funerals remain deeply cultural. The body is often flown home for burial, but before that there is an all-night vigil, nhanga, or guva, in someone's living room or a hired hall, filled with hymn singing, preaching, and the sharing of sadza and tea until dawn. Even when British rules limit the number of overnight guests or the weather forces, everything indoors, the spirit stays exactly the same. Family, respect for ancestors, and the comfort of song carry the community through joy and sorrow, just as they always have back home. Through music and these adapted celebrations, Shona people make sure that no matter how long they live in the UK, their culture is never left behind. It simply learns to dance in the rain. Community life and support systems. Community life for Shona, people in the UK, revolves around one simple idea: we look after our own. When someone arrives with nothing but a suitcase and worry, the first question is never, do you have papers? But which church do you go to? Or where are you from back home? The church is the true backbone of everything. Pentecostal congregations like Forward in Faith, Zauga, Assemblies of God, AFM, Family of God, and countless smaller ministries are far more than places to pray on Sunday. They are the first stop for almost every new arrival. The moment you walk through the door, often in a converted warehouse in Luton, a school hall in Birmingham, or a community centre in Leeds, people greet you in Shona, ask where you slept last night, and before the service ends, someone has already offered you a lift, a plate of sadza after church, and the phone number of a brother who owns a care agency and needs carers right now. Pastors and church elders act as unofficial social workers. They help fill in forms for national insurance numbers, advise on housing benefit, mediate family disputes, and even visit people in hospital or prison. During the week, the same church building might host English classes, CV workshops, youth mentoring, or a bereavement support group. For many, church is the reason they survive those difficult first months. That same Shona entrepreneurial spirit that helped people survive hyperinflation back home is now flourishing in the UK. Tired of low-paid agency work, many have started their own businesses. You can now find Shona-owned care agencies that employ hundreds of Zimbabwean nurses and carers, catering companies that cook sadza and nyama for parties of 300 people, hair braiding salons in every major city that can do the perfect Shona weave, butcheries selling sadza-friendly meat cuts, and money transfer companies that move millions of pounds back to Zimbabwe every month. These businesses do not just make their owners money, they deliberately hire fellow countrymen and women, often giving someone their first proper job and a pay slip that can finally help them rent a home or bring their children over. Finally, the network itself is the strongest safety net anyone could have. Facebook groups like Zimbabweans in UK, Shona Nurses UK, or city-specific pages such as Birmingham Zimbabwe Community are checked every day for urgent messages. Flat available in Coventry, 2 rooms, £800, call Sister Mercy, or anyone going to Zimbabwe next week who can carry a parcel. Local associations organize sports days, independence celebrations, and Christmas parties that feel just like home. And then there are the traditional rotating saving schemes known as Mukando, Round, or Cheetah, where 20 or 50 people each put in £100 or £200 a month and take turns receiving the whole pot. With these rounds, people have bought cars, paid deposits on houses, funded university fees for their children, or covered the cost of flying a body home for burial. In a country where banks sometimes say no, the community says, "We've got you." Through church, business, and these unbreakable networks, Shona people have built a little Zimbabwe inside the UK, a place where no one, no matter how tough things get, ever has to face life completely alone. Staying connected to Zimbabwe transnational life. Life in the UK for Shona people is never fully here. One heart always remains in Zimbabwe. The strongest proof of this is the river of money that flows back home every single day. Nurses finishing night shift in Leeds, carers in Luton, security guards in Birmingham. Almost everyone sends something. Through MoneyGram, Mukuru, Western Union, or the cheaper WhatsApp agents, hundreds of pounds leave British bank accounts every month to pay school fees for nieces and nephews, buy medication for aging parents, put bricks on a rural homestead, or keep the lights on in Harare flats in Highfield and Chitungwiza. It is common for one salary to support 10 or 20 people back home. People call it kurova nehana, hitting with the heart, because the responsibility is heavy, sometimes impossible, but refusing to send is unthinkable. To let families suffer would bring shame greater than any debt. Technology has made the distance feel smaller. Every evening, phones light up with video calls on WhatsApp or Zoom, a grandmother in Murewa clapping and ululating when her 2-year-old grandson in Manchester finally says, "Go, go." A father in Coventry watching his daughter's grade 7 prize giving live from Masvingo. Whole families gathering around one screen on Christmas morning to sing and pray with relatives under the Masasa tree. Church services from Harare's biggest ministries are live streamed straight to UK living rooms. So even if you are eating sadza in the rain of Sheffield, you can still shout Amen with the home congregation. The diaspora voice is also loud in Zimbabwean affairs. From the safety of Britain, people organize protests outside the embassy in London, raise funds for flood or drought victims, start online petitions, Zimbabwe Vigil, Restore Zimbabwe, or the various province-based associations keep the political fire burning. And whenever bank accounts and annual leave allow, people go back. December flights to Harare are packed with Shona families from all over the UK, suitcases heavy with second-hand clothes, laptops for cousins, and sweets for the village children. Many save the whole year for one trip, not for a relaxing holiday, but to attend a funeral, pay rora at a wedding, perform a bira ceremony for the ancestors, or simply sit under the mango tree with parents who are getting older. These journeys are expensive, emotional, and exhausting, yet completely non-negotiable, because no matter how many years you have lived in the UK, how perfect your British passport, or how fluent your children's accents, family, and home will always pull you back, and the door between Zimbabwe and Britain stays forever open in both directions. Challenges in the UK, the struggles. The journey to build a new life in the UK is full of quiet pain that outsiders rarely see. Many Shona arrivals are highly qualified back home, teachers with master's degrees, accountants, engineers, even lawyers. Yet, the British system often refuses to recognize their Zimbabwean qualifications, so a former bank manager ends up wiping tables in a care home at midnight, or a qualified nurse starts as a £9 an hour carer changing adult nappies. People call it survival jobs, but the word that really fits is humiliation. Every shift reminds them how far they have fallen, and the frustration sits heavy on the chest. Immigration never lets you relax. Visas must be renewed every 2 or 5 years, each application costing thousands of pounds in fees, NHS surcharge, and lawyer costs. One mistake on a form, one delay in home office processing, and a whole family can become illegal overnight. People live with a permanent knot in the stomach, checking their phones for that email that says approved or refused. On top of that, almost every salary is already spoken for. Rent in the UK is sky high, and the money left over is sent straight back to Zimbabwe for school fees, medical bills, or to finish the house in the rural areas. Many are supporting 2 households on one low wage, sometimes going without food themselves so that parents back home can eat. Mental health suffers in silence. Stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, and deep homesickness are everyday companions. Men who never cried in Zimbabwe find themselves breaking down in the car after a 12-hour shift. Women hide tears in the hospital toilet. The word kusuwa, a heavy, wordless sorrow, is heard more and more. Sometimes the pain becomes too big, marriages break under the pressure, and tragic stories of suicide travel quickly through WhatsApp groups. For the children born or raised here, the struggle is different, but just as real. They hold British passports and speak with London or Birmingham accents, yet at home they are told, "You are Shona first." They must kneel when greeting elders, speak Shona fluently, accept arranged introductions for marriage, and show unwavering respect, all while their school friends enjoy total freedom. Many feel they belong fully to neither world, too African for British society, too British for the conservative aunties back home or even in the UK. Questions like, who am I and where do I really belong, follow them into adulthood. Some rebel completely and cut ties with culture. Others embrace it fiercely to prove their loyalty. Most just learn to live with the split inside them, switching codes between Saturday Shona lessons and Sunday football with English mates. These challenges, professional downgrade, endless visa stress, financial overload, mental strain, and identity conflicts are the hidden price of the Shona success story in the UK. Yet even while carrying all this weight, the community keeps moving forward because giving up has never been an option. Future of the Shona community in the UK. The Shona community in the United Kingdom is no longer a temporary guest. It is here to stay, putting down deep roots that will last for generations. Today, we are witnessing the confident rise of a true Shona British generation. Young men and women born or raised in cities like London, Birmingham, Manchester, and Leeds, who speak with British accents, went to school alongside children from every corner of the world and are graduating from Russell Group universities, becoming doctors, lawyers, accountants, entrepreneurs, and even members of parliament. Yet on weekends, they still eat sadza nemuriwo with their hands, attend Zauga or AFM church in traditional attire, join province-based WhatsApp groups, and proudly call themselves Shona First. The community is becoming more organized and visible every year. Professional associations, cultural festivals, football leagues, beauty pageants like Miss Zimbabwe UK, and charity organizations now run smoothly and attract hundreds or thousands of people. Shona owned businesses are expanding from small care agencies and braiding salons into property development, tech startups, and nationwide catering companies, and even radio stations broadcasting in Shoshona across Britain. Politicians and local councillors court the Zimbabwean vote in key constituencies, and Shona voices are increasingly heard in debates about immigration, healthcare, and international development. Digital technology continues to shrink the distance between the two homes. Faster internet, cheaper video calls, live stream ceremonies, and instant money transfers mean a family can live in both countries at once. A child in Leicester can grow up being tucked in every night by a grandparent in Mutare, and a rural homestead can be built brick by brick with pounds earned on a night shift in Coventry. The old question, are you going back one day, is being replaced by a new reality. We don't have to choose. We are building a life that stretches confidently across the ocean. Whatever the future brings, whether Zimbabwe's economy recovers or faces new challenges, the Shona diaspora has become a permanent and unmovable thread woven into the rich, multicolored tapestry of modern Britain. From the nurses keeping the NHS running to the young engineers designing tomorrow's technology. From the gospel choirs filling community halls with harmony to the teenagers teaching Jerusalem dance on TikTok, Shona people are no longer just surviving in the UK. We are thriving, contributing, and proudly adding our unique patterns, flavors, and rhythms to this country that we now also call home. The story that began with a few students and professionals before 2000 exploded in the crisis, years that followed, and endured through every hardship, has reached a new and joyful chapter. We are Shona, we are British, and we belong. From the crisis of hyperinflation to the calm streets of London, the Shona journey is one of incredible strength. It's a testament to the power of community, faith, and the enduring love for Sadza and home. If you are Shona in the UK, what has your journey been like? If you know someone from Zimbabwe, what is the one thing you've learned from them? Share your experiences, advice, and favorite Sadza recipes in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of global communities. Thank you for watching.